Hi everyone, I'm Astro Coach Amy. Welcome to my show, The Divine GPS Navigator. This evening we'll be talking about the solar eclipse that will be occurring this Monday, August 21st. There's been all kinds of press and I know media excitement about this solar eclipse. It actually is the first time in many years it will be occurring in totality for about 3 minutes from certain parts of Oregon all the way to South Carolina. And it will be partially visible all the way from Hawaii across the United States up through Alaska. And in addition, it will be partially visible in many of the other parts of the United States, Canada, Western Europe actually, North and East Asia, North and West Africa, and much of South America, both the Pacific, the Atlantic, and the Arctic actually. Now, the solar eclipse here on the West Coast will occur approximately from 9:05 a.m. through about 11:44 a.m. The strongest visibility for those of us here on the West Coast will be approximately 10:21, probably for a few minutes. And again, this solar eclipse, which only occurs a couple of times a year, is actually when the new moon passes right in front of the sun. So in this case, for most of us, it's going to block it out partially. And of course, in those few sections of the US, it'll actually be totally eclipsed for that short time. Now, what's especially interesting is many of you may already feel this energy. It's generally a couple of days before the event, and then of course the event on Monday. And many of you may feel the energy for a day or two afterwards. What's special about this solar eclipse is that the sun and the moon, as well as Mercury, and there's a very bright star in the constellation of Leo called Regulus, and many consider it the actually bright star of royalty or kings in many ways, not just physical royalty like we might think of in other parts of the world. And of course, we know that Mercury is still in that retrograde, or what might look like a backward motion in some ways. And it's also significant that the North Node, which very much has to do with our spiritual growth and our karmic, if you will, responsibility, is in very close proximity as well, although it is in the very late degrees of Cancer. And it's reminding us, since it is in that water sign, it's also reminding us of the importance during this period to also seek emotional support while we're having this tremendous growth opportunity. But as a person, as well as a nation, what does this mean for all of us? Certainly, we know we've seen a great deal of upheaval. There's been violence. There has also been the greatest emergence of people speaking their truth from every possible path that we could think of here in the United States. And since this eclipse is the first one that will so directly impact the U.S. that it's been called actually the U.S. eclipse, what does this mean for us as a nation and as individuals? And I see it as a very tremendous opportunity spiritually for all of us to really grow and elevate as souls. And especially important right now is for us to unite for the higher good, not just here in the U.S., but as citizens of the global community as well. Now, this very unique configuration with so much energy in the sign of Leo, as I had mentioned, what's really important to recognize at this time in our show is that there is a distinction between what I'm going to call really the true spiritual high side of Leo versus the other side, which we're going to call the lower vibration. So since I like to focus first on the true spiritual meaning of Leo, which to me is about love. It's about nobility. It's about strength. It's about courage. It's true royalty, being our best, not just royalty in other parts of the world where people were born into it. It's also powerful leadership versus some of the lower vibration of Leo that we've also witnessed, especially recently, which is rather egotistical. It's self-centered. It's very power-driven and attention-seeking. I think something very significant, not only this very horrifying event that occurred in Charlottesville, but it's especially significant that we've had our lunar eclipse almost 2 weeks ago. And if we remember this very high side of the integrity with Leo and the energy we just spoke about, for the first time that I can ever remember, there are leaders in religion, in business, in the arts, in politics, and they're expressing their disbelief, their outrage, their compassion, their courage, and their power, because many of them have made very rapid decisions to withdraw from positions of leadership in areas they're no longer willing to support or participate in. This is, I find, very unusual in my own experience here in the US. What's also interesting is some of them, again, of people who are in fairly high positions in leadership, especially some in business, have chosen to make some significant monetary contributions to organizations that represent human rights and dignities and justice and dignity for all people. This, of course, is why many of our ancestors came to the United States in the first place. So the big question remains, here it is, our eclipse. And what new seeds are you looking to plant? Since we're in the time of the new moon, it may appear to be a bit quieter and more inward. What new opportunities would you like to open up in your own life, emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, in these next 6 months? There are tremendous opportunities, and the eclipse, although it can be uncomfortable, it does bring up things that may have been hidden, that we haven't wanted to deal with. They may be in the dark, and something will be triggered, perhaps an event with someone with something, such as this event last week that I think impacted so many of us. And for those of you that have something in your birth chart within close proximity to this eclipse, you may more directly notice in the next 3 to 6 months opportunities for change. Now, whether you walk through that door is always up to you, but there's tremendous opportunity for that growth. And sometimes through that discomfort, some of us know it becomes easier to walk through the discomfort and get to the other side where there's a wonderful new possibility. So this truly is the time when our resistance to that change can shift in an instant if we're willing. These are times of catalysts. As we said, it can be catalytic for us. Those old emotions or conflicts may come out, but recognize that they may come up to be healed. As more and more of us are speaking our truth and standing in the light, whatever that means for you, as I've said before in some other broadcasts, the greed, the anger, the upset, those negative emotions are coming out to be healed. It's not just coming out to punish us by any means whatsoever. These new chapters are opening, the old ones are closing. And as I've said, there can be just miraculous things happening when we open our hearts, amazing solutions when we step out of the way and we're open. It's a great time to release some old limiting beliefs, no question about it. And again, I say this standing with all of you, an opportunity to focus on our highest truth and the best and highest good for everyone. It is especially important to stay connected to your divine presence within, recognizing everyone has a divine presence. And how can you best do this during this very important time? It is extremely valuable these next few days to take some quiet time each day, whether that's a quiet walk, whether that might be some meditation, whether it might be getting a little bit of extra rest, and even in your lunch hour, perhaps you can sit outside or go somewhere that's quiet. This is such a powerful time to recognize that even during the eclipse, there'll be darkness coming out as our precious sun is being blocked. So this is not a darkness to be feared. It's rather that inward side of us that has some tremendous answers and great intuition if we're willing to go within and be quiet. And it may not be comfortable, but the results could be just tremendous. Like I said, not just on Monday, but for these next few months. So I encourage you, get a walk, get a little bit of exercise, get a little more rest, do some wonderful self-care. I invite you to reflect on the past 6 months and really look at where you'd like to go in these next 6 months. The opportunities are here for you. We just don't know what they look like yet in the external world. So I encourage you to take full advantage of this very special energy. Take good care of yourself. I look forward to hearing from you. You're welcome to contact me at Astro Coach Amy, and I look forward to seeing you again at the Divine GPS Navigator. Thanks for joining me.